Sports Talker Nation. Welcome back. Once again, it's your host, the G-Man, as we continue with our 2016 team-by-team NFL preview from a fantasy perspective. Today, we're going to talk about those Indianapolis Colts, and for a team that has a terrible defense, they are ripe with fantasy options as we move forward. So let's start with Andrew Luck. Maybe you can get him a little cheaper because last year he was so hurt. Going into last year, I know myself had him ranked as a top 2 to 3 quarterback. I still have him up there. I think he can be good for 45 to 4,800 yards, a couple rushing touchdowns, maybe 300 yards. I know they say they want him to not run as much, but a guy with that athletic ability, sometimes you have to use your legs, and I think he'll be smart enough to get down and not take the hits he had. And I think he's going to be a 30-plus touchdown. So I think he is a huge fantasy asset from a quarterback perspective. In the backfield, Frank Gore is ageless. I think he is good, not great. I think he is consistent. I don't think he's good for much more than 1,000 yards and a few hundred yards receiving, but he's going to play a lot. He'll be consistently getting you that 60 to 80 yards. I don't think his value has helped as much as it used to be in a PPR because he doesn't catch the ball as much, but he certainly will be on the field quite a bit. Only other option, I guess, as a handcuff would be a guy like a Robert Turbin, but frankly, I wouldn't waste a roster spot on him for the simple fact that Gore is not a guy that if he gets hurt, you don't have someone better on your roster than Robert Turbin to plug in, so I probably wouldn't take a shot at him. Where the real value comes in for the Colts, in addition to Luck, is at the wide receiver position. I think they have two viable top 25 receivers. First is T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton can be a low-end number one, especially if he keeps up his pace of last year where he actually caught more balls and not just was a deep threat. So I think he can be in that 12 to 15 range of wide receivers, maybe even a little higher. I haven't done my position-by-position analysis yet. But I think he's a valuable option. I also think Moncrief's a viable option. I think he is a late number 2, early number 3 receiver, but certainly a starter on most fantasy teams. I generally play in non-PPRs. I think his value is better in a non-PPR, but I do think he has value in either league. Phillip Dorsett is a great lottery card because I think he is, as a lottery ticket, I think he's a guy who will he'll catch 3 passes, but for 85 yards with a long touchdown a couple of times this year. I don't think he is going to be a guy who gets you 75 balls or 1,000 yards, but I think as a bye-week replacement, he certainly has some value. As far as Dwayne Allen, I think he is a middle-of-the-road tight end, mid to late number 2, only because I think there's too many mouths to feed in the passing game. I think he's actually a pretty talented guy, but I don't think he'll get too much of the load, even down in the red zone. So I put him in that late number 2. From a defensive perspective, one word, run. Do not draft the Indianapolis Colts defense. They're going to give up so many points. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to have to win games 41-38, so I wouldn't invest a whole lot in their future. So that's it for your 2016 team-by-team fantasy preview of the Indianapolis Colts. I'm your host, the G-Man, and I am out.